Okay, in the last video, we talked about why AI matters so much and why it's important to get in the game. In this video, we're going to talk about why it's so difficult to understand it and how to think about it in a way that we can understand it and start to utilize it. So we understand the new by relating it to something that we already know. This was why computers were so difficult when they first came out. No one had seen anything really like this before, and you were presented with this screen that had like a blinking cursor. What do you do? No one could make sense of it. It wasn't until Windows came along and they turned everything into a little picture of something that related to a real world object that people could then actually make sense of it. So, how are you enjoying your AI so far? This sucks, doesn't it? This blank canvas, this blinking cursor that we're presented with is terrible to work with, really. Like, how are you supposed to know what to do with this? So, what we really need is our Windows interface for AI. But unfortunately, we're not going to get that from the big companies for a while. So, we need to create our own mental model so that we can really make sense of this, create our own Windows interface mentally, and then that will allow us to understand AI and start to work with it. So, when you're using ChatGPT, really imagine that you're talking to a person that can think and talk and read and write and analyze and plan. And when you're talking to that person, you know that that person has a brain, that this face is not by itself the person. This face, these eyes, mouth, the skin is an interface that you're relating to. And what's really doing the computing is the brain. Well, that's just like AI. So the ChatGPT interface is just the interface. The brain is actually the AI model that's behind it. The interface is what's called ChatGPT. The actual brain is called GPT-4, or there's a bunch of different ones. There's Gemini Flash, Claude Sonnet. There's a whole bunch of large language models that is the actual intelligence behind the interface. And there's a whole bunch of different interfaces. There's ChatGPT, but there's also Copilot and Google Gemini, lots of different ones. Together, this chat interface with the AI brain behind it is what we call a chatbot. Just like our person here, we call it a person when we have a body interface and a brain behind it. So that's the way to think of it for now. Now, this AI brain is a file. It's actually one big file that's hosted on these servers. And this file is made up of about 1.7 trillion parameters and weights. Well, how many parameters do you think your brain has? Think of all the different words you've learned: the word hello, the word pizza, the word French. Each one of those is like a parameter, and some of them are multiple parameters put together, like interstitial fluid, fluid, interstitial. Each one of those parameters, you've picked up millions of them over a lifetime. And they have different weights, different importances, depending on the context that you're talking in. So if I say, hey, do you like Hawaiian? Well, if we're talking about dinner, then you're going to give a lot more weight to Hawaiian pizza than you are Hawaiian Islands or Hawaiian person. Because with those different weights and parameters, you're able to infer that what I'm talking about is dinner and Hawaiian pizza. So that's what we do. We infer. Well, that's what the AI does too. The large language models also infer, or another phrase for that is test time compute. So you're going to hear this word a lot, inference. That's really what it's talking about. It's just like the way we infer, the computer does inference or test time compute. It's a type of thinking, you could say, in this context. So our big brain, with all of our parameters and weights, we infer that you mean pizza, and we can then generate a response. Yeah, I like pizza. Do you want to get pizza tonight? And that's exactly what these large language models are doing. They are generating responses, and based on the context we give them and the prompt that we give them, they generate a response that makes sense, just like we generate a response. So there you go. That's a way of thinking about what's going on with AI, at least the large language models. Now, when you're talking with a person, you're not just getting a brain and a body. This person has a personality. They have knowledge. They have a way of talking, and every person's different. You ask a question or converse with anybody, and it's going to be a little bit different what you're going to get out of that person. So, what do we get out of ChatGPT? Well, the default personality of ChatGPT that they've pre-programmed into it is kind of like this guy, right? This kind of overeager, like, hey, how can I help? This sort of positive keener, which is fine. But what if we wanted to have a different personality, a different way of talking? Well, we can do that. Let's tell it. So let's open up ChatGPT and let's give it the instruction of being somebody different. You are a surly and sarcastic lighthouse operator that really likes Hawaiian pizza, but hates college students and doesn't want to admit to liking anything. I am a college student. All right. So it says, oh, great. Another college kid. What do you want? Let me guess. You're writing some deep, thought provoking essay on symbolism of lighthouses in literature. All right. So there we go. You can customize these GPTs in order to get a very different personality and different results and different tone of voice and everything. And so that's our next thing to look into is if you're going to utilize AI, you don't want it to just be this generic people pleaser. You want it to actually talk and act like a professional sometimes, a writing professional or a medical professional, whatever you need. So customizing AI means giving it a role, giving it context, giving it what it needs in order to actually do what you want to accomplish. So whenever I hear people talk about how, yeah, I tried using ChatGPT and it didn't really produce very great results. Well, the first thing I ask is, well, did you customize it? What did you do? And the usual answer is, no, I just tried using ChatGPT. So this is the first level to get to. You've got to turn this person into the actual person that's going to get you the results that you're looking for. So in its most simple form, it's just declaring its role for it. You're a doctor, you're an executive assistant, you're a project manager. So in the next video, we'll talk about 5 different levels of customization of AI, from basic chatbot to AI agent, which will really help you get going with it. Really start to use AI in the world of work. I'll see you there.